Okay, good morning. Welcome back. We are live on location this morning on 103.7 WTIB and taping for replay today on Cable 7 from 5 to 7. And again tonight from 10 to midnight is our monthly community breakfast at Rep Express here on Talk of the Town. But on top of that, a special day as we are meeting the candidates for Greenville City Council. Yesterday, early voting started, and a record turnout, by the way. 425 people voted. A record for an off-year election or a non-presidential gubernatorial year election. 425 people across the county. That wasn't just in Greenville, but compared to 2009, 2011, very, very heavy turnout yesterday for the first day. So optimistic that this will be a big turnout. We're going to start this morning with the District 3 race. We're going to talk to the incumbent, Marion Blackburn, and then we're going to talk to the challenger, Catherine Weatherington. We've chosen the order just based on the alphabetical order of the last name. And Marion Blackburn, who is the first up here this morning. Marion, good morning to you. Thank you for coming out. It's nice to see you.
Good morning, Henry. It's always nice to see you, too. A little drizzly this morning, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
We managed to avoid any hurricanes this year, so...
so far.
So far.
Don't jinx us.
Yeah, okay, I won't. But hopefully it'll be a nice afternoon, heading over to Free Boot Friday this afternoon, and looking forward to a good weekend.
Let's just kind of start with, how many terms have you been on the council?
I have served 2 terms.
And this would be, you're running for your 3rd term.
Running for my 3rd term.
For folks who don't know you, just give us a little background, who you are, what you do, and why you decided you wanted to run again.
Well, thank you very much. And I am a freelance writer, project manager, and sometimes photographer, web writer. I do some web design. I am self-employed. I don't make a lot of money, but I enjoy what I do. My interests are really those of an ordinary person, and I like to emphasize that because most of my life I've rented homes. I am now in the first home I'm buying, and that's very precious to me. That's usually the first check I write each month because that's something that I've worked very hard for. At the same time, I've lived, as I say, most of my life in rental homes, so I understand the concerns of renters. District 3 is a very distinctive district, as you know. It has a lot of students, it has retirees, it has young professionals, it's got renters, it's got homeowners, so it's really important to be able to represent all of those interests. I believe I can do that. I'm a full-time graduate student in addition to being self-employed, and so there's a lot of interests, and it's my goal to represent all of those interests.
Perhaps the biggest issue in your district has been in the last few years the 4 unrelated rule, and a lot of people, particularly in the Truna neighborhood and Truna organization, were very unhappy with the council's decision to change that from 3 people being unrelated, being able to live in a dwelling, to 4. Where are you on that today? There are people who believe that the demise of that neighborhood can be helped by changing that. What's your position on that?
Well, let's just be clear. We never had a chance to evaluate whether this was a good policy move or not because the process was not. The process, I say it frankly, the process was rotten. We had several public meetings and the public came out, we had 3 public meetings, and the public came out overwhelmingly against changing the occupancy limit. Then we had a meeting and there was a policy presented that I had not been a part of. So we never had a chance to actually work with the people that were going to be affected and say, hey, is this something we can look at? How should we look at it? How should we change it? Instead, we got a very heavy-handed top-down ordinance that has created a lot of resentment, and there's currently a lawsuit. Now, what should we do moving forward? My goal is to be reelected, and then let's go back to the neighborhood. Let's go back to the people who are affected, whether you're an investment property owner, whether you're a longtime homeowner resident, whether you're a renter, student, retiree, if you live in that area, or really if you live anywhere in the city, let's restart that dialogue and let's find a better way moving forward.
So your goal in this term would be to try to reverse that?
I did not say that. I think my goal...
Okay, review that.
My goal is to make sure that we listen to the people who are affected.
Okay.
And make sure that we're doing what's good for the university neighborhood, what's good for the residents, what's good for our entire city. You know, let's look at it. Why would we say something that is not good or advisable for the whole city is somehow good or advisable for one neighborhood? You know, that's sort of, you know, one of the first things we have to look at, one of the big inconsistencies of this policy. And I think it's really important, too, to look at the fact that, you know, people across the city opposed this change, and yet it was made. And we need to look at process as much as policy.
What do you see as the largest issue facing Greenville right now, and particularly with regard to your neighborhood and your district?
Well, I would open my response to that by saying I absolutely love what I do. I love working for people, I love serving the district, and I love serving the community. I am an Eastern North Carolina girl. I grew up on a tobacco farm. I really love the changes and the possibilities that I see in this community and for Eastern North Carolina. We're a great place. Now, what's our biggest challenge? Well, first of all, we have to make sure we're a safe community. If we're not a safe community, we really can't do anything else. And safety really allows us, safety and works together with so many other issues, neighborhoods, parks, economic development, greenways. When we have the right kind of activities, we'll have less of the wrong kind of activities. So, answering your question, what's the biggest issue? We have to make sure we're a safe community. We have to make sure we're a thriving and growing and dynamic community. We need to make sure that we send a message. When we talk about economic development, we want entrepreneurs to know, hey, come to Greenville. We're progressive, we're visionary, we're tolerant, and you are going to like it here, and you're going to do well here.
Let's talk about the Walmart. That's been a hot topic in your district. There was the first site was rejected. The second site has now opened. The Walmart is open, and it's been a very controversial thing. It seemed like there were as many people for it as against it at first. I don't hear anything negative about it these days. Since it's open, what's your feeling about it? Is it a good thing for that part of Greenville, or is it not?
Well, I think we need to move beyond looking at any one store. What we need to look at is how are we growing? Are we growing in smart ways? Are we building large developments at our city limits where we've got sprawl? We're expecting taxpayers to fund that infrastructure, whether it's roads, stoplights, stormwater, all that infrastructure. We're asking taxpayers to fund that. Meanwhile, we've got all these empty places where people are moving just because they want a new building or because they see, quote, more rooftops. What we need to do, it's not about any one store. We need to make sure that when we grow in good ways. We need to make sure that we grow in ways that people can reach places by bike or by foot, that we've got sidewalks, that we've got greenways. We need to make sure that we look at our city center. We also need to make sure that we look at pockets of development in the right places. To me, that's the most important issue. Development, the right kind of development in the right places.
Again, if you're just joining us, this is Marion Blackburn, the incumbent in District 3. Marion, we got about a minute left. What would you like to tell the voters about you, and why should they choose you to go back to the City Council for a third term?
Well, Henry, thank you for that invitation. I would say to the voters, I would like to have your vote because I enjoy working for you. I've been a strong voice for you, and I'd like to continue being a strong voice. I think that ordinary people need someone to speak up for them, and not special interests, not moneyed interests. I am just an ordinary person, never intended to be a, quote, politician, much less a, quote, incumbent politician. But I like what I do, I like working for you, and I'd like to keep doing it for you. So I hope I'll have your vote, early voting or November 5th. And I'm Marion Blackburn. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marion. Nice to see you, and thank you for being here. You want to give her a hand? All right, come on in, Catherine. That's Marion Blackburn, and now we're going to talk to the challenger in District 3, who is Catherine Wetherington. Catherine has joined us here. It's good to see you this morning. How are you?
Thank you. Doing wonderful.
Good to have you here. Again, we're live at Rep Express. If you're listening on the radio, please join us. The breakfast is out. They've got free buffet breakfast this morning, and you're going to get a chance to meet the candidates. Catherine, tell us about you. For folks who don't know about you, give us a little bit about your background and why you decided to run for city council.
Okay. Well, I'm a hometown girl, ECU alumni. I'm the general manager of Winslow's. I employ 77 good people, know how to make a payroll, make tough decisions, work with big budgets. I've been a community leader in the university neighborhood as well as uptown Greenville. I'm the creator of the Umbrella Market, and I just finished a fantastic project called Park and Ride, where we bus people from municipal lots downtown right up to the stadium for free on game day.
Very good. Let's talk about some of the issues that I talked about with your opponent, Marion Blackburn. The biggest issue that's come up in the last few years in District 3 is the issue of 4 unrelated. It's been a very heated discussion, and there are people who believe that the City Council passing that ordinance was a mistake. Where are you on that?
Well, I'll tell you where I am on that. And pardon my voice, I have a little sore throat today, but I'm actually right in the middle of the university neighborhood, or what the students call the grid. I live grid central, so I have a firsthand experience. And what a lot of us were seeing is not only is unfortunately our district caught in this ridiculous partisan war, but the big houses were beginning to crumble. And as we went to the landlords and said, what are you going to do about the state of the properties, they continuously told us that they weren't making the rent to cover the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and the upkeep. And you know that mortgage, taxes, and insurance are non-negotiable. So what is negotiable? It's the upkeep of the property. So this was an effort to make it so that they could upkeep their property and we could build up the property values of the university neighborhood. And this is something that I was seeing firsthand, not something I'm being told about by a special interest group, but actually witnessing and living in. So I've been for that, and I just went through the entire process with the landlord from start to finish, and it is very, very stringent. Basically, we're upping our minimum housing standards for these homes. It has to be not, and people don't understand, but it's not every home. It has to be a much bigger home. It has to have 4 bedrooms. It has to have a certain number of closets, bathrooms. They go over the property and inspect it to a T. It has to be in really good condition. It has to provide extra parking. So we're raising the minimum housing standard for these homes, and that's what it's about, is raising our property values.
This neighborhood used to be kind of the gem of Greenville for those of us who came to school here years ago. I came here in '71. It was the area where students wanted to live. Now students have moved out. There are apartment complexes all over Greenville, and it's not the premier place for students to live. Can it be again? Is this for unrelated going to help that, or is it really not going to make any difference, and all it serves to do is just create more of a diversity in a community that's already got problems?
Well, I'll tell you, the recent parking initiative, which was people really don't seem to understand it, but it really helped our neighborhood, is actually going to help that. What the university neighborhood has been for a very long time is a free commuter lot. And what we were seeing is students that are living outside of the university neighborhood in the big fourplexes don't want to bus back and forth on their buses. So they were driving into our neighborhood and they're parking and clogging our streets. Well, when we remove that, and the parking in our neighborhood is only for university residents, that began to increase the demand for those houses. So hopefully we are going to pull that back. But there's other things we can do. Crime and safety has been an issue for the students, and that's something that they're concerned about, as well as, minimum housing, making sure the houses look great, affordable rents. There are things that we can do to make sure that that neighborhood begins to hold its value and begins to be more attractive to students, because 87% of District 3 are rental houses.
Catherine Weatherington here with us at Rep Express at our Meet the Candidates event. Catherine, what do you see as the biggest issues facing the community at large, the entire area?
Well, it's definitely, it's even between crime and economic growth. Shootings at Walmart in the parking lot cannot be our new normal. So, a top-down pressure on crime has got to be foremost in our minds. As a mother of 3, it's something that I'm very concerned about. But in addition to that, from walking my district, I've found out that economic growth is on everyone's mind. Everyone in my district is looking for a job, and some people are looking for a better job. We're looking for jobs that pay more than public assistance, that's for sure. And we're also looking for jobs that you can grow in. Greenville has a lot of jobs that there's nowhere to go. You can work at that level for years and years and years and do an amazing job and never get a promotion. So we're looking for economic growth to come into this area. That will bring everything up.
Speaking of economic growth, I asked Marion this. I'll throw you the same question. The Walmart project in District 3 was certainly controversial. There were inflamed feelings about where it should be located. The first location was rejected. It's now open out next to the Hardy Village area off of 33 and Portertown Road. Is that a good development for the city? Is that the kind of thing we ought to be looking at for the city of Greenville for economic growth?
Well, that's a mixed question, because I preferred the first site I think that moving to the second site actually is what we did was we did achieve some urban sprawl there. Now we're farther out, and for all the people that said we're against this because of urban sprawl, you know, that they actually put us in the opposite direction of what they said they wanted to go. I think the proof is in the pudding. A tremendous amount of people got jobs from that, and that really is what it's all about. And when you go out to Walmart, it's popping. There are people everywhere. No one's upset. No one's protesting. It doesn't seem like it's increased crime. I think we can pull the statistics on that. One thing I think people are going to have to recognize that Greenville is growing by leaps and bounds, and if you live on a corridor, main corridor in and out of Greenville, if you live next to a 5-lane highway, we're going to see economic growth. It's important that we do it very carefully, but just throwing out buzzwords all the time, you know, smart growth and fiscal responsibility, I'd like to hear more from other candidates than just those buzzwords, because you can make that mean anything or be against anything. I absolutely feel strongly about that.
We've got a minute left in this segment. Tell the voters in District 3 why they should vote for you.
Well, I think that being a businesswoman, making a payroll, seeing all kinds of people, all walks of life, living right in the university neighborhood, not being told about the perspective of the university neighborhood, but living it day to day, makes me uniquely qualified. I think I have a real world perspective for what we need in Greenville. I'm a regular person, struggled a lot, failed a lot, succeeded a lot, and I think that I have a fresh voice for District 3 that can get us out of our partisan wars and start to move District 3 forward. It can't always be us against them. At some time, it just has to be us all moving forward together.
Thank you very much. Catherine Weatherington, everybody. Appreciate it, Catherine. Appreciate that very much. And that is the first round of our Meet the Candidates event here, District 3. We'll take a quick commercial break and come back live at Rep Express. The breakfast is out. I see people enjoying breakfast here. Come on out. They got the waffles, they got the eggs, they got the fruit out this morning, and it's here for you. Come on out, and when we return, we'll focus on District 5 in the Greenville City Council race.